In today's episode, let's talk about quiet quitting. This has been a term that has been in the news recently. It is something of a buzz term, and what it is and what its opposite is. So what is quiet quitting? Quiet quitting is a trend that is described as people, it's typically assigned to younger folks, but I think it's applicable to everyone, who are doing only the minimum required in their jobs, right? They look at their job description, they say, this is what I'm getting paid to do, and that's what you do. And at the end of the day, you stop working and you go about with your life. Now, there's a bunch of different perspectives on this, but it's really centered most heavily on salaried employees. And there are contrary opinions, people saying, well, what about people who want to get ahead and stuff? Quiet quitting seems like not the way to do that. And ultimately, quiet quitting itself is about setting boundaries. It's about setting boundaries and saying, okay, this is what I'm being paid to do. I'll do that. I'll do it to the best of my ability. And if I'm asked to do things that I'm not being paid to do, I have the right to say no. I have the right to say, yeah, that's not what I'm being paid to do. Think about this, especially if you're a salaried employee. How much does your pay increase commensurate to your effort? Right? Does working 10% more hours get you 10% more pay? Right? If you're an hourly employee, the answer is yes. If you're a salaried employee, the answer is probably no. Does handling 10% more than what's in your job description get you 10% more pay? What about 20% or 50%? If the answer is 0%, meaning you don't get any extra for the extra work that you do, why do it? Right? That's not to say you shouldn't do your job, right? Give the 100% you're paid to give. That's the agreement. That's the trade. Imagine there are people who are very angry about this, but imagine you're going to a grocery store, you pay for what's in your cart, and then you insist that you didn't get enough value and just start putting more stuff in your cart after you checked out without paying for it. What happens to you? You get the bracelets in the back and a ride downtown, right? For theft, for shoplifting, for stealing. For an employer to insist that you do more than you're paid for is still stealing, right? You're stealing a person's time. And if an employee volunteers, that's one thing. But if you're insisting, yeah, you got to work on this project, or you got to work, extra hours this weekend, or whatever, and you're not getting paid extra for it, quiet quitting is about saying, nope, I got stuff to do, and you're not paying me to be here to do that. Now, a number of folks have said, well, this is, sort of a terrible work ethic. Well, is it though? To me, it seems like you're doing work commensurate to what you're getting paid to do. So what's the opposite of quiet quitting? Right? What's the thing that people are looking for, thinking about? That is ambition. Ambition is the opposite of quiet quitting. And there's nothing wrong with ambition at all. If someone wants to hustle and grind and work extra, if a person is willingly and knowingly consenting to working above and beyond what they're getting paid for, great. And that's a good thing. And for the folks who are like, well, in my day, I used to do, to put in the extra time to try and be seen. Yeah, that's called ambition. The difference between quiet quitting and ambition is you're not insisting that a person do that extra work for free, right? That person is volunteering. They're raising their hand saying, I want to do this extra work for free. And when somebody does that, recognize them, celebrate them, be happy you have them, and treat them well and do your darndest to hold on to them, right? Put them at the front of the line for promotions, and pay raises, and bonuses, and parties, and whatever else you can figure out. Quiet quitting is all about setting boundaries. The employee is the one in modern society. The employee is the one who has to set the boundaries of how much they want to let work into the rest of their life. You have this period of time where you're expected to work, whatever it is you're expected to work. And anything extra you do above and beyond that is voluntary if you're not getting paid more for it. And so quiet quitting is people saying, yeah, this is the limit. This is the line here. This is where I'm paid. This is where I'm not paid. And I'm not going to bring work into the not paid part of my time. Where employers and older folks like me run into trouble is not understanding the difference, right? mandating extra work that goes unpaid, that's not okay, right? That is stealing. And that's why quiet quitting has become a trend. But if somebody willingly volunteers to work well beyond what they're paid to do, that is their right to do so, right? As long as they consent to it, they're not being coerced, they're making a conscious choice to do so. And if we recognize that they have the right to withdraw that consent, they withdraw back to the boundaries of their job description and commensurate pay, then we should gratefully accept whatever else they choose to gift us of their time, because it is a gift, and we have to do our best as employers and managers to recognize and true up those efforts, those extra efforts, as we have the resources available to do so. That's the difference. When you tell somebody you must do more than you're paid to do, that's not okay. When somebody says, I volunteer of my own free will to do more in the social expectation that it will be returned in kind someday, that's the person's right to do. For a good chunk of my career, I was the person who tried to do more, to try to be seen, try to do as much as possible to be noticed. And this is just my personal experience. This is an N of one. This is a sample of one. But it never really paid off, right? It never really paid off. Did I get that big promotion? No. Did I get that huge pay raise? No. Did I get, the big payout, the big bonus? No. For the last 20 years of my career, did I retain my job? Yes. Did I get a lot of praise? Yes. Was that praise accompanied by material recognition of my efforts? Not really. Yes, there were small bonuses here and there, but not commensurate to the value that I was delivering. My last company, the team that I built with my coworkers was the second largest billing team in the entire company. Right? We, with a scrappy group of 10 people, were generating more revenue than most of the other teams. And when we got our year-end bonuses, they were so appallingly small compared to the revenue we were generating that we're like, why? Why bother? So I completely understand the trend of quiet quitting. I completely agree with it, that an employer does not have the right to demand extra work of you that they're not paying for. That's not okay. I also acknowledge that if you have ambition and you work in a place that is conducive to ambition being recognized, that's your right. Go for it. Hustle, grind, do whatever the trendy term for hard work is these days. Now, if you're an employer or a manager, how do you create conditions where employees want to express their ambition, where they want to put in extra effort? It's actually pretty simple. Not easy, but it's pretty simple. Number one, they have to feel safe. Right? So you have to create a safe space for them to flex their work style and let them deliver the results that you want in a way that's most convenient for them, right? You know that you're more likely to put in extra work if you're comfortable doing so, right? If you know that you can put in extra hours, but you don't have to miss, your kid's baseball game or your significant other's birthday party, or those things that very often extra work takes away from. If you can create a safe space for people to experience that, to balance their lives, people will feel safe. I remember, I quit a company back in 2012 when a loved one passed away, and I was on a business trip, and I said, I need to get home. And they're like, no, you need to finish this assignment remote. And they're like, all right, I'll finish it, and then we're done. That's it. We're done. And I quit, and that was that. It wasn't quiet. It was just quit. That company had no interest in providing a safe space. Another company I worked for, I was traveling like 30 of the 52 weeks of the year, right? So I was missing birthdays and anniversaries and all kinds of things, rehearsals and recitals. And because my team was so successful and such a big revenue generator, we had to do that to maintain that pace. But it cost a lot, and it was not rewarded in kind. So if you put your people's lives before work, generally speaking, they will put more of their lives into work as long as they have the flexibility to say, hey, my kid's got soccer practice at 3 p.m. today. I'm out. And you're like, cool, see ya. And then they catch up at 9 p.m. that night. Cool. That is the essence of the often quoted, rarely done, results-oriented, results-only work environment. ROWE, it's called, results-only work environment. Very few people actually do that, even though a lot of people talk about it. But if you can do that, that's one way to help people's ambition. Number 2, fulfill that ambition as quickly and as thoroughly as you can. Go to bat. Go to bat for your highest performers when it comes to pay raises and bonuses and other forms of compensation. As fast as you can, as big as you can. Reward that ambition, because ambition and volunteering is essentially a social debt. Someone is volunteering and giving you more time, and the expectation is repaid. At my last company, I had one direct report that was up for a promotion, and I recognized that she was doing way more than her job description was, way more than the next position up. So it took a lot of fighting and a lot of very politically unpopular things behind the scenes, but we got it done. We got her promoted to a director level position instead of a manager position because she expressed the ambition. She did the work. She went above and beyond, and you got to pay that out. You have to pay that out. If you don't pay that out, people will not express their ambition. They will simply quiet quit and say, okay, well, if you're not gonna recognize my efforts, why bother? And do you blame them? And number 3, this one's going to be tricky, but you have to build real professional friendships with your highest performers. Relationship power, the ability to ask for help from someone through the strength of the relationship you have with them, dramatically overperforms role power, which is when you have a title and says, I'm the manager, you're not the manager, I tell you what to do. That's role power. Relationship power dramatically outperforms role power. So if you are good about cultivating relationships in a professional context, but you build strong professional relationships with people, strong professional friendships, that helps people fulfill that ambition. It helps people, A, feel comfortable to express it, and B, to fulfill it. Yes, you have to pay it out. You have to pay it out, but the intangible benefits also have to match, right? Recognition, praise, good performance reviews, and other intangible benefits as you can create them. In my last position, one of the things that people said to me, I thought was really interesting, was they said they stuck around and didn't quit our team and go someplace else because they felt like they were getting paid to go to graduate school. They felt like they were learning so much on the job so often that it would be silly for them to leave and lose that opportunity to learn from the rest of the team. That is not something you measure in dollars per se. But it is definitely a benefit that is powered by that relationship, by that willingness to give in multiple ways to your team, so that in some ways, their ambition is just a counter payment of sorts, right? If they feel like they're getting a $50,000 a year education for free and actually getting a paycheck for it, then they also will feel some sense of social obligation to repay that. Now, again, that's not something you want to rub in somebody's face, right? You do it because it legitimately helps your team. But in doing so, it helps foster loyalty. It helps foster strength of relationship. It helps build that relationship power so that someone is not only okay working a little bit harder, or maybe a little bit longer, but they enjoy it because it gives them a chance to grow, right? So that's sort of quiet quitting and its opposites. Quiet quitting and ambition are two sides of the same coin. Quiet quitting is what happens when you, as a manager or an employer, don't make people feel safe and take more than you give. And ambition is what happens when you make people feel safe and when you give more than you take. So give that some thought. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.